Facebook, one of the most popular social media companies in the world, has been accused of stifling competition for years. This is a claim that Zuckerberg and his directors have consistently rejected, but there is evidence on the ground to suggest that it is true. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode on our channel. In this video, we will show you several instances where Facebook has killed startups in order to stifle competition. Facebook has been accused for years by critics of killing startup competition. If you have been following the technology landscape, you will realize that the big digital companies of today were startups in the beginning without the mega size and structure that they have today. But by staying course, they eventually attracted the kind of investment required to grow and dominate their landscape. Facebook was once a startup, so it is ironic that the social media company that was once a startup is not allowing new startups to grow. There is evidence of these practices by big social media companies, including Facebook. Let's look at several instances to prove the point. One of the ways that Facebook kills startup competition is to copy what these startups are doing. For example, in 2010, Foursquare was just like Path, Tumblr and Twitter, and its co-founder Naveen Selvadurai had high hopes for his company because he believed that the app had certain features that would make it relevant in the technological space. However, Facebook put its copycat lenses on. The company introduced a similar feature like what Foursquare was providing. This feature allowed its users to check in at any location. This check-in feature was a major feature of the Foursquare app. This prompted Naveen Selvadurai to conceive an anti-Facebook alliance made up of upcoming digital startup companies. He had conversations with companies like Twitter, Instagram and Path, all of which had faced similar threats from Facebook. These firms were asked to provide the alliance with survival tips on how to deal with Facebook's threat. Mr. Naveen alleged that Facebook had a penchant for approaching startups with a veiled threat of copying what they were doing if they did not join the company. He went further to say that Facebook's practices were hurting the chances of new developers who had the potential to develop an app that could reach millions of people. Unfortunately, the alliance did not achieve its goals as Facebook bought one of the main players, Instagram, for about $1 billion in 2012. Following Facebook's style, Yahoo purchased Tumblr for $1.1 billion in 2013, and Path lost its popular appeal and was sold. Foursquare, on the other hand, remains an independent app but had to split its app into two to survive. If you ask the directors of Foursquare why the app has not been as successful as planned, they would likely point to two major reasons. One was that the app arrived on the scene too early, and secondly, Facebook copied its feature. Many, like Mr. Naveen, believe that Facebook copies startups, and to be fair, the company is not the only culprit, as other big apps are known to suck the life out of smaller startups to remain relevant. However, these actions have not gone unnoticed by the US Congress. After the 2016 elections, Congress started investigating how Russia has utilized the platform to spread disinformation so as to achieve its strategic goals. Some regulators believe that Facebook has become too powerful for the social media ecosystem and are wary of the immense power it has over competitors. Another clever way Facebook kills startups is a practice that they cannot even afford to hide. This is a tried and tested tactics that big business has used for years. What do? They acquire apps that show promise. There is the $1 billion Instagram deal, the $22 billion WhatsApp acquisition, and the forceful attempt to acquire Snap for $3 billion. What makes the Snap attempt a lot worse is that, after its owners turned down Mark Zuckerberg's advances, his company tried to copy Snap features on 10 different occasions by introducing distinctive Snap features to the Facebook app. Another anonymous app they succeeded in acquiring is called TBH. TBH is an up-and-coming app specially created for teens, and there are rumors that Facebook found out about TBH from one of its other acquisitions. Then we have an Israeli app called Onovo, which it purchased in 2013. This app helps users monitor their own data usage. Now, this seems like a relatively straightforward acquisition, but when you consider the strategic advantage it offered Facebook, you will have a better understanding why Onovo was not just an innocent acquisition, but a strategic one. Onovo uses its algorithm to aggregate data consumption of users. However, Facebook had other sinister plans. According to the Wall Street Journal, Facebook used Onovo to monitor millions of users to find out which apps they were using. By knowing which apps were growing in popularity, Mark Zuckerberg and his collaborators could find out more about the fastest growing apps in the digital space. The data Onavo generated was also enough to convince the decision makers at Facebook to acquire WhatsApp, so as to copy some of the live streaming video services of apps like Meerkat and Periscope. More recently, we see the same trend taking shape as startups in the virtual reality space are now accusing Facebook of trying to outmuscle rivals. This accusation has attracted the attention of industry regulators. Currently, the company is the largest VR hardware maker in the world thanks to its acquisition of Oculus in a 2014 deal worth $2 billion. By controlling the flow of VR hardware, it is able to decide to a certain extent which startups survive and the ones that die. The same playbook it used to stifle startups in other niches is the same one it is now using to control the VR space. This move has become even more aggressive in the last 24 months, as there appears to be a race between Facebook and other tech giants like Google and Apple for the mantle of the #1 state-of-the-art virtual reality platform in the near future. Facebook's acquisition strategy is a worrying trend that shows no sign of stopping soon. The social media ecosystem has become more or less a jungle where bigger and stronger species feed on the smaller and weaker ones. Facebook is by no means the only big shark in the pool. If you observe closely, you will find out that most, if not all, big players in Silicon Valley operate the same way. Amazon, for instance, is known to do the same thing. Jeff Bezos' company started a price war with a website called Diapers.com for months. After weakening this competition, what did Amazon do? It bought the website over. Facebook, on the other hand, has become quite shameless and does not seem to hide antics, unlike in the past. From shamelessly copying rivals to buying them outright if the first tactic doesn't work, Facebook will go to any length to maintain its dominance. To this end, many observers have publicly gone on record to say that the company is stifling innovation in Silicon Valley. Larger companies understand that the online ecosystem is very competitive and they might be overtaken by upstarts. They know this better than anyone since they themselves were once startups. What better way to ensure that this does not happen? Kill the young before they become too big to kill. Privately, many investors are unhappy with Facebook's business practices and have accepted the company's practice as the norm today. Investment in apps is not as massive as it should be, and some even argue that there may never be another WhatsApp or Instagram if Facebook is allowed to continue. Many hold this notion due to how the company operates. Unfortunately, there are statistics to prove this point. Starting from 2014, investment inflows into new startups has declined considerably, and the trend has continued. Furthermore, many co-founders now see selling to Facebook as the easy way out. Cashing out big once Facebook puts forward an offer for your app is the new trend now. In fact, some time ago, a former employee of Facebook by the name of Josh Lee jokingly made a suggestion on Twitter for internet users to start a philanthropic fund that will pay the owners of any app Facebook tries to buy. Although this plan does not appear feasible, however, the pun was not lost on Twitter users. The threat Facebook poses still hunts other startups that have escaped its charms. Apps like Snap saw its user base slow down after Instagram copied its Stories feature. And with a subscriber base running into billions across its affiliated platforms, Facebook has the funds and the reach to dominate startups and make them bend to its will. For instance, it has more than 2 billion active users across its 3 biggest apps. WhatsApp has 1.3 billion users, Facebook Messenger has 1.3 billion users, and Instagram has 800 million users. 2 of these apps were acquired by Facebook. The company is also delving into customer service, online payments, news and videos, to mention a few. Unless regulators and Congress initiate new rules and enforce them, Facebook will continue to kill startups and the digital ecosystem will be poorer for it. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, kindly subscribe to our channel for more videos. Thanks for watching,